In June and July 2024, an online series entitled Knowledge Integration Meets Serious Games took place. Here we explain the dialogue facilitation techniques that were used in the series. There were 3 sessions in the online series, namely on competencies, on orientations, and on place-based work in relation to knowledge integration and serious games. The aim was to have speakers from both of these fields in dialogue with each other. The facilitated dialogues included visual prompts and gamification. The series was funded by EU Cost Action CA21166. There were 38 participants across all 3 sessions. The online series was a collaboration between 4 different organizations. The co-hosts were the Global Regeneration Co-Lab, Ishara Press Community Interest Company, the EU COST Project, Social Sciences and Humanities for Transformation and Climate Resilience, and the PACT Institute at the University of Central Lancashire. The title of the first session was Competencies, with speakers from Germany, the USA, the Netherlands, and Austria. Instead of a round of introductions, we used an alternative game technique to introduce the 4 speakers to each other and to the audience. The technique is called work-play conversion game. To play it, talk about a piece of work that you are doing at the moment. For example, a research or a news article, a business plan, a feasibility study. The examples are in the outer circle in this diagram. Then the creative activity is randomly assigned. Examples are in the inner circle of the diagram. So, for example, a documentary film, a board game, a theater play, or a visual artwork. Then talk about how you would turn your piece of work into this creative format. In order to decide the creative activity, we used a spinning wheel to randomly assign a creative activity to each speaker. Can we pass on to our last speaker? Bettina, tell us something you are working on right now.
Yeah, last week we kickstarted a new project on in Hamburg, where we have the luck of having a site that is representative for the challenges of urbanization, that is usually taking up formerly agriculturally used land. But since it is in the city of Hamburg and there's a lot of horticultural farms around and they are all challenged by the current situation, we try to bring together grassroots initiatives and traditional family farms that had limits to growth in this area because of the structure, to define and conceptualize what urban agriculture actually is, how it needs to enter urban planning policy, how it needs to enter urban agricultural policy, how it needs to enter the sector and agricultural politics. So we have a set of actors there whose potential is great, but they have never collaborated. So we are very excited about this, and we want to illustrate what we're doing, what we're aiming for on test fields, where then later a novel concept of an urban area will be built. And we hope that our research results will inform this new type of urban planning and construction and living with farming.
Great.
And
so let's see.
Make it connected.
Yeah. So let's see how you're going to undertake this work in future. So you are going to have a novel or other creative writing that serves as a tool for this kind of work. What would that look like?
Yeah, this is actually very nice, and I would link it to another project I did on which was a longitudinal diary study, and I would convert this into like visioning writing to imagine how daily life would look like in such an area where agriculture and urban living are connected, and how this is integrated into daily life routines of different actors.
Yes, that sounds very good. This activity that we just did is called Work Play Conversion Game, and I invented this some time ago. It's an alternative to intros, basically. So now, where, you know, if everybody had just talked for 10 minutes, I'm doing this and this and that, then by the end of this, you can't remember anything. But now you'll probably remember that in Austria, there'll be like the new immigrants and homeless people and academics and social department officials playing a reverse theater, and that there'll be a fluffy sheep exhibition in Martin's case, and a novel and so on. To talk about the session of the topic, that is competencies associated with the space in between knowledge integration and serious games, we used the dialogue prompts shown in this slide. Our 4 speakers took turns to select one of the prompts and launch a discussion based on the prompt with the other speakers. What kind of prompt would you like to work with next?
Well, maybe you can bring up the screen again, and I will try to look at it.
But Amy, can we bring up the prompt screen, please? Here it is. Right, so you can choose one of these.
Yeah, maybe then I try to address the discomfort zone a little bit, trying to work together.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe it relates to what was discussed before, because I wanted to bring in this term of mutual learning, where integration is not only about adding up the different elements or different types of thinking that different actors, scientists, and practitioners bring in, but it's also about a better understanding about others' perspectives, expectations, priorities, or even problem framings. So in that sense, it's probably quite important to leave your own comfort zone and feel some kind of discomfort.
The topic of the second session was orientations. By this we mean inner orientations that we bring to the work in the areas of knowledge integration and serious games, such as being humble or curious or cooperative in our work. Our speakers came from India and Switzerland. To discuss this topic, we played a discussion prompt game. Here's how to play it. Select a picture that represents a concept related to inner orientations. First, you guess what the picture may stand for. The word is then uncovered to reveal the intended concept. You then lead a discussion with your co-presenters and the audience about this concept. The audience was also involved. They posted their preferred choices of pictures in the chat, and an assistant in the background identified the most popular choices. The players either go with the popular choice or make their own choice. Go to another prompt. That one would be for Paula. Teddy, can we have the prompts again? Paula, would you like to choose your own number, or would you like to go with the audience choice?
Okay, let's try the audience choice.
Okay. Teddy, what has been a popular audience choice, please?
One of the popular audience choices is number 5.
Okay, so let's go to number 5.
All right.
How long?
Now,
What do you think this might mean?
this is something that is representing the fact that a person has his or her own roots really firmly in the ground. And this is something that is authentic, and it's really expressing some sort of true belonging to a certain place, to a certain culture, to a certain society. And
Yes, can we reveal the word, please, Teddy? So here, the word is authenticity. Yes, authenticity. Good.
Authenticity.
Over to you all to discuss. And the audience also can ask questions.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's yeah, it's challenging because what we see also in our societies, but also in so many countries nowadays, is that this part of authenticity is not there, because there are different values, different ideas, different fronts, different aspects that come in and to some extent displays this authenticity. And looking for that and being authentic is certainly a gift and a very good inner quality, I would say.
And I think there's a question in the chat which goes to Rahul from Bethany. Bethany, can you say your comment?
Yeah, just to read it out loud, one might argue that a game makes it impossible for players to be authentic because the game makes them play an artificial role, and the game itself is artificial. It's not a real world situation.
So, I mean, because I make games where people can talk as they are, who they are, maybe we can say that serious games probably allow you to be who you are rather than get into an artificial role.
In the third and last session, our topic was place-based work. Speakers joined from the UK and from Australia. In this session, we used a more involved game. The discussion game for place-based work was similar to the game in the previous session, but the concepts are distributed over a map with vehicles to travel to each concept. For the facilitation, moving the vehicle tokens and uncovering or deleting topics was done by an assistant, so the presenters did not need to handle anything on the PowerPoint slide. The host kept track of the time and prompted the presenters to move on to the next topic after around 8 minutes, so that we could discuss a number of different topics. An assistant also monitored the chat and introduced questions from the participants. To play, the player chooses one of the tokens, a bicycle, a van, or a horse, and asks for it to be moved to one of the squares. Behind each square, there is a keyword or a joker. Then the player hosts a conversation about the topic, which is between themselves, the co-presenters, and the audience. If the field is a joker, the player can introduce a topic of their own choice. After discussion, the next player moves to a new square that is a new topic.
So we're going to move on to our next topic now, and it's Bob's chance, and I think that you get the van, Bob.
Oh no, I'm on the bike. I'm on the bike.
Oh, sorry, the bike. Sorry, we've done the
Yeah.
van. Okay, you're on the bike.
I'd quite like to have a look at the castle. Well, I know, go and see some nice castle ruins on the river there. That was lovely. I get local community. Okay.
What topic?
Yeah. Quite broad. Yeah, I guess one thing that I've learned over doing Envirolution over the many years is that there is a way to access and engage local community about climate change locally, as far as long as the options that you can present are sort of relevant and appropriate to that demographic. A good Envirolution, we can hope to welcome about 6,000 people down over the day. So these are quite large scale events. You know, it's quite a good way to engage people by taking it to them. Mix it up.
I tend to think about local communities a little bit differently. So because I'm kind of problem focused, if you're trying to understand a problem, then I usually think of local communities as the people with the problem, if you like. So if you're doing occupational health, for example, it's the people who've been affected by that particular illness through their occupation, or the people who live in a polluted area, if that's the thing that you're thinking about. And if you're really interested in knowledge integration, ensuring that local community is part of, that their knowledge is part of the knowledge that you're integrating to understand the problem, is really essential. So it's a kind of a different take, but complementary to what you were saying, Bob.
Hey, right.
In summary, we found that the games were quite easy for the participants to play, and they served their purpose of generating discussions in a lively atmosphere. The work-play conversion game was the only one where we could draw on a tried and tested format. All the other activities were specifically invented for this series. Over the 3 sessions, as we have seen, the complexity of the games increased. We were gaining more experience with the gamified format. Because of the time constraint with just 75 minutes per session, audience participation was quite limited, and not all prompts could be covered in the discussions. To know more about this online series, about gamification, knowledge integration, serious games, and the EU SHiFT project, please visit the web links given on this slide.